Well, so we're going to cut that first part out.
Yeah, for sure.
Welcome to the interview.
Right. There was about 100% more human centipede talk than I expected, and we haven't even got started yet. All right, so I'm here with a couple of my friends, Heather and Champ, who are the two of TalkComicsToMe, which is, I don't know, what would you say? It's a podcast, an Instagram account, because I always see your videos on Instagram, but I don't know if you, and sometimes you post them on YouTube, but I don't know if like you do like a normal podcast as well.
It's just two cool people hanging out and recording stuff. But we do actually have a podcast. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we do put all of our live recordings onto our Spotify. We have a Spotify, a SoundCloud. Wow, Megatron, bless you. Basically anywhere like podcasts are, I've put us on there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And it's just,
so it's like, go ahead.
No, you.
I don't know, because it just kind of started as like we were talking about comics, and so we're just like, well, let's just try something. So it started on Instagram, and then like I was able to buy a mic, everything I've gotten for like Christmas or like presents.
Oh, nice.
So I bought the mic, and then we went from there, like from our Instagram stories to like doing the podcast stuff. And then once we decided to start recording, then we started doing things on YouTube.
Right. Yeah. Because the videos were taking up too much room on my phone, so I had to upload them onto YouTube. Yeah. So then it just kind of started spiraling. Yeah.
Just use someone else's space.
Yeah.
YouTube free video storage.
Yeah. It's essentially my Google Drive. Like that's just where I put everything that I don't want on my phone right now.
Right. Yeah. Archived for prosperity.
Yeah.
So basically, like, you're just, hanging out, being two cool people, talking about comics. You're like, hey, what's this button over here? What if I just switch on the record button and so I can throw it out into the world?
Yeah. We really like listening to ourselves talk.
I would say that's so no one listens to us.
Yeah, no. So it was very helpful to have these recordings so we could go back and just like laugh at how funny we were, but then put it out on the off chance that maybe someone else thinks we're funny too.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know. It's also been nice since we both work at the shop. Like, it helps me remember what other comics are that I don't personally read.
Right.
So it like helps me like form an opinion about things that like I would probably not have an opinion about otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. So is everywhere you're at on like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and the name of your podcast, it's all TalkComicsToMe?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got the name across the board?
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, for the most part, I think, is it Instagram? It's like instead of TO, it had to be a 2.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
okay.
For the most part it is straight just TalkComicsToMe, but occasionally like it's the number 2 instead of 2 for
Gotcha.
I also put together a Wix site that
have
has
it all.
basically everything all combined into one.
We can have whatever we want.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'll put some links and whatnot and in the comments below here, wherever that is.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what I really wanted to talk about is, so in addition to having your own podcast and in general internet presence, is you both work at a comic shop, Legend Comics and Coffee here in Omaha, Nebraska. And I thought it'd be interesting to talk about what it's like working in a comic shop in these quote unquote troubling times.
So troubling.
So I know that Legend is in a fair, I don't know, say unique position, but it's in a rare position where it's not just a comic shop, it's also a coffee shop, which has a drive-through, right? Which allows you to this is going to sound bad, service your customers in a different way. So what other than that, like how does the normal day-to-day at the comic stop function, as opposed to how it used to be?
Oh, it's so different.
So I guess to preface, I'm not much of a people person, and I never it's part of the story.
What,
so
I'm just
not a people person?
I'm
I
just
know.
laughing because it's true, not
So
because
I know. So all of the jobs that I've had in my life, I've been behind a desk for the most part, and I haven't ever had to deal with people. So when I started working at Legend, I had to, put myself out there more. I had to actually talk to people about things. I had to learn how to communicate. And I eventually kind of grew to really enjoy it, just I guess because of the people that would come in. So now, having not been a people person for a very, very long time, I miss the conversations that I would have with people. So I guess it's more frustrating in a way, because I finally did reach this point of myself where I'm like, I like talking to people. And now, since we just have the drive-through, it's still nice to see the regulars that I do and have those conversations, but I can't actually sit there for as long as I would like to talk about things.
Sure.
So that is very, very troubling for me.
Yeah, no, I can completely echo those statements. I mean, I've been working basically nonstop since we shut the inside down fairly intensely. And at first it was kind of nice because I felt like I had been socially overrun for a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. Not that I do love talking to my customers so much and the people that come in. But it was one of those things where I was like, oh, this is nice. I'm getting a little bit of a break. But after a while, it was just I do honestly miss I don't know, you know how it is, when you come into a comic shop, or I mean, at least our shop, where it's just no matter what, you're going to have some sort of conversation with somebody.
Right. It's inevitable.
And yeah, and it's going to develop into something else. And you kind of you get to learn so much about other people. And that, yeah, I just miss that aspect so much. I had a regular come through on Wednesday that I hadn't seen in quite a while. And it just it hit me because they would stay every Wednesday. They'd get all of their books, and then they'd come and sit in the coffee shop for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And we'd just talk back and forth and just talk about our lives and different books and all of these things. And it sucks. It sucks missing out on that. That aspect of it is just a total bummer, especially then when you have people come through and they're just well, I really wish I could come in. It's just
yeah, we wish I could come in too. Yeah.
We feel the same way, even if you don't realize it.
Yeah, it is a huge bummer. I have conversations in my mind that I'm trying to remember where I left off, so that when we do open again and I do see these people, I can continue the conversation about mm-hmm. Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four run and how much this person enjoyed it, because I have not stopped thinking about it. And I need to know what he thinks about this particular issue.
That and all the other conversations that you should have had during this time, you got to make notes of all of those.
Yeah. It's overwhelming and also very underwhelming and frustrating that we can't just have what we want.
Right. I understand. And from a customer perspective as well, I enjoyed coming in and talking, and just whoever random person happened to be there. And it's tough from our perspective too. A lot of the books that I picked up, I started reading is because I found them off the wall. Right. Mm-hmm. And there isn't that as much anymore.
Yeah, no.
Where I can just pick something off the wall, oh, this looks interesting, flip through it and decide yes or no, I want to put it in. But I definitely, there's a lot missed on both sides, I think, with that the doors being closed and missing the interaction, but definitely the fun conversations that you can have in a comic store.
Well, plus then you can bounce off of that, when you're talking to somebody in the shop, it is really easy to just be oh, you're grabbing that book, I also had the chance to check that out, and it's it's awesome,
Yeah, sure. It's hard to suggest things to people based off of what they have when you can't show them
Yeah.
what it is. Because it's like,
Right.
you can do that through the drive-thru. It's like, hold on a minute, let me run over to the other side and grab this book so I can show you this really cool page. Like,
Yeah, no,
it's just not the same.
Yeah, there's been so many times where I've been like, well, here are the things I think you would like. And then they're just like, well, actually, I would like all of those things. And I was like, oh,
Right.
let me go get them.
Well, and that's one thing that I think Legend has done well, is that interaction with customers. It's far from the stereotype of the comic book store and the comic book guy where it's like, get your stuff and get out of here, leave me alone.
Yeah.
It's always been a very interactive experience going to that store, and the two of you had always embodied that. I think that's always been a lot of fun, and I definitely miss it.
I mean, that's why I started, like, is because of the atmosphere and like having
to talk with
those
me,
in.
to hang out with me, and talk with me.
Yeah,
just know
of
that I can,
course.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I saw you dig out all those amazing Spider-Men, and I was like, I need to talk to this dude all the time.
No, but like, yeah, I just, I came in every Wednesday for so long and like grew into odd relationships with people. And then when I got the chance to work there, it was just like, of course I'm going to work at this place where like I can also do these things for other people.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, we have a good balance between the weird people that work there and the weird customers. And I think it makes it a unique experience.
Yeah.
Like the first time that I went in there, I had that conversation with Wit, and he told me you're weird, and I was like, damn, I like this place. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
That's all right. You weren't the first. You weren't the first. Champ did within the first minute. I didn't say anything.
Well,
though.
Shoot.
Wait, you didn't even know.
I didn't even know. We're just so used to it, but I caught myself. But
okay.
Yes, it's very nice to have customers that are on the same page in terms of like social awkwardness and like also experience and same tastes and stuff. It makes it a lot easier to enjoy working there when the people who come in are enjoyable to talk to.
Yeah, it's you can let your freak flag fly there. Like
oh yes,
like,
it is so easy to just let it fly way too high.
Yeah, sometimes bring it down at about half mast.
Yeah,
a little much.
There have been definite times when I've had to like stop in the middle of what I was saying because I'm like, I don't think I should be saying this to people. You guys are making me too comfortable.
I am still at work. Keep in mind. This is a
and
job.
That's another thing that I always have to keep in mind is like it is like almost a second home, but it's also a place of business, and we do have to conduct ourselves in a semi-professional way.
Yes.
And Wendy and Dave let us get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
thank goodness we don't have an actual HR department.
Right. I would have gotten written up so many times for touching Wendy's butt, like so many times. She's even told me, like, I should be.
I'm sure you would have been the first. So other than the interaction with people, what about just like the normal? I guess not normal, but what would usually be normal sort of things that you do? Do you find yourself doing more like, I don't know, back issues, sort of delving and restocking, or like, and how are back issue sales going? Because usually that's something like it's easier to go into back issues and dig through them, but if they're not in and able to just flip through stuff, how have you seen that changed?
It kind of depends. A lot of our back issues now specifically are being sold by people who have been in so many times and they have specific things that they're looking for. I think when we do get like newer people to the shop looking for like new issues and stuff, I don't think they realize or are very knowledgeable with how extensive our back issues are. So I don't feel like they think to look or ask about them. But honestly, I don't know. What would you?
I mean, with like right now, so when everything started, we were selling a shoot ton of back issues, like a ton, and you included, but there were quite a few people who would just like I did that one social media post that was the Indiana Jones, like, we'll search for your back issues.
Yeah.
And we got so many people sending us messages about back issues, and we did sell a decent amount of back issues during that time.
I think that was the period I was gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't have known.
Heather took a 2-week sabbatical just because we thought maybe she had got the COVID.
Oh no.
So
it wasn't because of me. I was being safe. I was doing what I needed to do. It was just a circumstantial thing.
Yeah,
sure.
With the restaurant,
you can be as safe as you want to, and
right. If someone else isn't being as safe, then yeah. But it turned out to be all for naught because I'm fine. I don't get sick.
Obviously you're still alive, so
yeah.
But during the beginning, we definitely sold quite a few back issues, and this when things were when there are no books coming out, I think people just wanted to support us, but also were just well, I think it's just a budget thing too. It's I have this budget for comics anyway. Why not just pick up some things I may have been looking for in the past anyway?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that has been something with back issues. It's kind of slowed down for sure, but I do see some go out more often. But I think that is one of those things with people not being able to come in. It is a little bit of an issue.
An issue. I mean, that's what I was doing too. I like to repeat jokes just in case.
I did hear it.
But no, I was doing that too. When comics weren't coming out, I was going back and getting issues that I didn't have for older series that I thought we might have had in the shop, just so I could continue buying comics to read comics, because that 2 to 4 week period that I was gone, I was losing my mind.
Yeah, it was rough.
So all I was doing, all I was doing was reading comics, and it was I read so many trades during that period of time.
Yeah. I mean, I read the entirety of Transmetropolitan and Ex Machina.
Yeah, it was hard to stay busy despite how many comics there are in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, personally for me, and I feel the shop as a whole, it's just at least during that downtime when there were no new books, there weren't too many of us in the shop. It was a very slim crew. So I was personally since I'm cross-trained on the coffee side and comic side, I have been fairly solidly focused on the coffee side and making coffee and giving people their comics. I mean, and that's been my gig. And then all of the social media stuff, trying to get photos of whatever I possibly can in the shop so people can see them, and then hoping people do see them.
Right.
It's a little bit rough. And Whit, our coworker, has been very focused on getting our basement organized, all of the back issues down there, trying to set up our eBay, which has been something we're working on right now. Just all the little pieces that we can do to try to keep us moving,
Right.
And I just kind of go wherever Wendy wants me. I will seriously do anything. She tells me to mop the basement floor, and I'm like, all right, let me go get my stuff. I got it. So I do whatever.
Do we even have a mop? First,
go
buy a mop. Then mop the floor. Okay. That actually springboards pretty well to my next question, because and the two of you are kind of lead the social media for the shop. I kind of assume. Okay.
I'm just there for pictures and stuff. I'm just there to help execute it. Yeah. Okay. Champ is the one who does it all. When Champ isn't there on certain days, I take the pictures for Champ, but I send them to Champ for Champ to do the posts. Okay. So I'm literally just a stand-in.
Okay.
I'm a stunt man that looks kind of similar and is only there to do certain things. Eat the food.
I mean, it's just as important as a role. I mean, you have to have at least one person in front of the camera, not just behind the camera. So
that's true.
Plus, it's nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. To be honest.
Yeah. I'm sure you are both in. It seems like you're both involved in it, because like I said, Heather, I see you in front of the camera a lot, but sometimes I see both of you, and it just it seems like it was both of you. But anyway, so that has increased exponentially with the the doors being closed. Cause I think you were doing that a little bit before as well, but it's definitely ramped up because now I see not just like fun posts of here's us doing weird things, here's a picture of someone sitting outside reading this thing, but also you take pictures of the new comic wall, right? Like this is what you would see if you come in, or you try to highlight different things that sort of come in. So what sort of determines the things that you decide to post on social media?
Oof. That's a hard one. It really, I try to cycle things through, and I try to focus, like, especially before COVID, I tried to focus on making certain days, certain ideas. I still try to do the same thing with like on Tuesdays, so people know like new books are here. But we've kind of transitioned Tuesdays into posting the new wall, so people have that ability to like zoom in and see the wall overnight and have that time to make that decision. And it's mainly just like, what new things do we have? What things haven't I posted in a while? What things do I think people might be interested in? And we have so much at the shop. There's almost like an endless amount of things I can post about. But I also find it like very important to post about, like Heather and I, or like Whit and Derek, or anybody who works there, just because, we're all people, like, and we exist behind this world. And I think that's really important to showcase. But
well, especially honestly, now, because you're so like out of sight. Right. It's as far as like your customers know, it's just one person sitting in a little window and like handing stuff out. But it's good to let like, no, there's still people behind you. The gears are still working.
We're still here doing stuff for you.
So a lot of it is just me trying to figure out what I think people will enjoy, and trying to like, I don't know. I don't feel very good at like marketing or selling things. Like personally, I don't know, it's hard to describe that. I feel like kind of gross when I feel like I'm forcing somebody into something. And I think that's something where like the social media differs, because I can just like highlight things where I'm just like, well, somebody out there is going to enjoy this thing. And I'm not forcing them to like, hey, put this in your hands and let's like get to the counter real fast.
Yeah. You're really good at keeping things relevant too, based off the stuff we have in the shop. Like the Rick and Morty stuff, like when Rick and Morty was coming back on, you were posting about that. And yeah, I don't know. I think you're really good at that.
I'm a little too online.
Too adorable.
So that's like my biggest thing is like, I'm fairly aware of like, at least in the pop culture idea, I'm fairly aware of like what's coming out like nerd wise. And I follow a lot of comic creators, so I can see like those things that I think might be like good or like better to push, or like things that might be interesting to like our customers, very
things that are going to do
well.
Yeah. And you also have a really good idea of like, if you like this, then you're going to like this.
And then recently, with COVID, like I said, posting the wall on Tuesdays. And then once we started getting new books slower, I started doing the individual photos of each book.
Yeah.
And then once we started getting new everything, it also just made sense so people could actually like have a look at those books. And then that's when I decided, since, people aren't going to have those interactions with us, I'll go ahead and put like our pick of the week on like the books, because then I think our customer base has a very good idea of like who each of us is, at least. I think
we've talked to them enough at this point where I feel the same way. Like,
so I think they would get that grasp of like, okay, if Champ likes this book, maybe I won't, or if like Heather likes this book, I will definitely grab it. Like,
sure, who to listen to and who to avoid.
Yeah, and we all have similar tastes and different things, so it's not like I know people don't like the same stuff as I do, and I'm not mad about it.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's part of what's great about comics, though, right? There's such a diversity of things. There's something for everyone. Just because you don't like something that you like or I like or whatever, we can still be friends. We can still, talk about comic nerd stuff.
Yeah.
So you said something else in there. You said you started talking about comic creators, which reminds me, both of you very recently had a very exciting interaction with a comic creator on your podcast. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Are you talking about when we got to talk to Chip?
It
Quick little
was,
tip.
yeah, it was a very, very fun experience that happened so fast.
Yeah, like
we didn't actually think it was going to happen, and it happened within like a 24-hour period where it was like settled and it was set up and we were ready to do it. And then for like 3 weeks after that, we were like, what are we going to do? What's happening? How is this happening to us?
Like the night, like Chip was doing podcast interviews for like $200 a pop for like a Canadian comic book fund. And I saw the tweet and made a joke tweet and was like, Heather and I needed like a fund for the podcast. And then I got a message from our friend Aaron, and they were like, oh, I would definitely pitch in for this. And I was like, well, I got to talk to Heather. Like, it was a joke. Right. Like, we've never had a plan to do this. So
my response was, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah. And as I was like texting with Heather, our friend Drew sent us a group message and was like, hey, I will also pitch in X amount of money for you guys to do this. So then it was just like settled. And I was like trying to beat a video game boss, and I was just like really like amped up and just like, oh my God. And like,
who
also
can think about video games right now?
Yeah. And
I
just
had
like
an entire bottle of wine, and I was like, hell yeah, we're going to interview Chip.
Yeah. And just like sent Chip a message on Twitter. And I don't know. I don't think either one of us have ever had a plan to interview a creator, and
of all the creators too. Like, it was just, it was perfect.
Yeah, it to be somebody like we both really, really enjoy. It was really nice, and Chip was the nicest person.
And so funny.
Yeah.
Like he was funny to the point where like when we were interviewing him, I had to force myself multiple times to not react because I would have just laughed the entire time. Yeah, I was just, that's why like most of the interview I'm here doing this, because I was like, I can do this. I'm an adult. I can keep a straight face. But it was a dream.
Yeah, it was really easy. Like, I think I was so nervous beforehand, and I don't really know why. I think it was just because it was like, oh, I'm talking to this person I really respect and I like love their work.
Yeah, we worked all day and then took like a 20-minute like break to get set up, and then we immediately did the interview after that. So it was like we didn't really have time to think about what was happening until it was happening. And then we forgot to hit record.
Yeah, and then I forgot to record the first like 10 minutes of it, which is fine, whatever.
It was the best compliment anyone could have ever given me, and we missed out on it, and I will never forgive myself for that.
Oh, what was it?
So it was right around the time when I first shaved my head, and the place that we were sitting there had lighting that was really weird, and it like hit my head in a certain way that made me look bald, and I was embarrassed about it, so it like completely bald, like big bald. So I had my hood up the whole time, and when Chip came on, I was like, I'm not going to say anything about it. And then I was so nervous that I said something about it. I was like, hey, I'm sorry, I have to wear this. I know it's unprofessional. And I showed him my head, and he said,
because we are professionals.
Yeah. He was like, he just like looked at me and he said I looked like Chris Molini, and it was beautiful, and I loved it so much, and it was the best way to start an interview ever. After, God, what were we talking about right before that?
We were talking about if they brought the Hanna-Barbera dogs into the DC universe, more specifically into like the Green Lantern universe.
And then the dogs as the the gatekeepers of hell.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing.
It was a whole thing.
Chip put in his opinion. It was awesome, but it was like we missed out on that first like 10 minutes of it. So
oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Which we thought should be written by Grant Morrison.
Yes.
Okay. Well, once you get big enough, you can contact him and say, "Hey, I need you to write a one shot that is the lost 10 minutes of the Zdarsky Talk Comics to Me interview. Morrison, here is your $1 million.
It's worth it, I promise." But yes, that it was such a fun interview, and I feel like aside from this, any other interview that we have is just not going to be as good.
Yeah, I mean, it might be, but
Aside from this one, I mean.
yeah.
Well, that's what I said. Aside from this one, because you're our friend and we like know you, but just like people that we've never met before, I feel like it wouldn't be as comfortable as it was with Chip,
Right.
just because when immediately it just felt like we were friends just chatting.
Yeah.
It seemed like as a viewer of it, it seemed very, very natural.
Yeah.
And I think you both sides did a really good job of keeping it casual and cool.
I think we were all just so nervous and emotional that we just didn't know how else to react, because I mean that was also my favorite part of the whole thing, was realizing that Chip Zdarsky was just as emotional as we are. And I think that's what like made it
Celebrities,
easy.
they're just like us.
I
just
also
think
cry.
Emotional people who cry all the time just recognize other people who cry all the time. So
Yeah,
it was just immediately just this wonderful connection of just tears, and I loved it.
Man,
That's
I knew
awesome.
we would talk about crying.
I don't think we can do an interview without talking about crying.
It's the most important thing to all of us, I'm sure.
It's how we all connect.
Yeah.
The tears of
waves
the
of
world.
We collect our tears in a glass and we drink each other's tears.
Tear sisters.
Now we are brothers and sisters forever.
Yes.
Can I time out? I need to go grab another beer.
Yeah.
You just bring the case over here. You might as well.
Just stack them up.
Make a little tower of empty beer cans during the interview. At the end, we'll knock it over.
Yeah. Get back. Just you throw the microphone at the pyramid. Oh yeah, crack it. Snap that one back, champ.
Snap it back.
All right, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That was okay.
And-
Hey, man, you gotta have your fuel.
If only I just had like a cooler over here.
Yeah.
Should have thought ahead.
Just a cat box instead.
We're not prepared for anything.
Oh, me either. I didn't prepare any questions. I was like, we'll just wing it, just have fun.
Yeah, that's like my motto in life. Just wing it, fake it till you make it,
Right.
I mean,
whatever.
that's what Talk Comics to me is all about, is us just winging it.
Yeah. Every time
whatever
that
happens.
before we record, like every Wednesday, Champ and I are always like, all right, I just have to take like a few notes for like each of these so I remember what to say. We always forget to write the notes and we just talk about the comics anyway. So
This week I decided I didn't even want notes. I was like, I'm going to write notes. And then as we got to it, I was like, you know what? I read 18 comics. Let's just do this.
yeah, and it's become such a joke to myself now that since I'm awful with remembering names, for a while I was like writing them down so I would remember,
you
but
weren't.
I did it like once or twice, and I have done it a few times, but it's to the point now where I'm just like, whatever, I'm not going to remember this anyway, so
Right on.
we just wing it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mostly do the same thing with my stuff. There's like a few videos where I've like prepared like slides and scripts and stuff, but it's when I'm talking about like a bigger sort of thing. But for the most part, it's just like, I'll figure it out as we go.
I think that's more fun that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
More
Well, it feels more
authentic.
natural.
Yeah.
All right, so I really only had one more question for you, and on a more serious note.
Oh.
Yeah. So working in a comic shop as ladies, I suppose, I'm sorry, I'm making an assumption there. I did not.
I do consider myself to be non-binary, but that doesn't change the way people view my body.
Right. And
Sure.
I'm just whatever you think I am.
Very fluid. So let me say, at least to an outside observer who doesn't know you, appearing as ladies, do you feel that has affected you at all in your jobs?
I for sure.
Not like in your ability to do things.
No. I
Yeah, but
understand. It's
your
just funny
interaction
because
with-
it's funny because yeah.
No, absolutely. I noticed it more when I was first starting to work there, probably within like the first year, I did get that a lot more where, you know, men specifically were more hesitant to ask for help. But I think the longer that I've been there, I don't know, maybe it's just because I've been there for quite a while now that they know. Okay. I got too emotional. I'm so sorry. I almost started crying.
Here comes the tears.
But I think that since I have been there.
Typical person with a uterus.
But yeah, when I was first working there, I think it was a lot easier for people to hesitate when asking me certain questions about needing help with stuff. But again, since I've been there longer, I mean, and we have been closed for like 6 months now. So I haven't really had to deal with people personally asking me questions, but I have noticed it less within like the last year.
And did you think that was because of more of, it might be a combination of both, but predominantly was it because they didn't think that you would be knowledgeable, or because it was like nervous to talk to a girl?
I think it was more that they just didn't think I would be knowledgeable. Me personally, I don't know Champ's experiences, but that's what it felt like to me. Because when I did first start working here, I didn't read too many comics. Like the one comic that I've always read is Thor. That's just been my consistent since I was very young. So when it came to different universes and like different comic lines and stuff, I wasn't too familiar with it. So anytime someone would ask me a question, I would answer to the best of my ability, and then always have Dave like add to it. So I think that I was very insecure in myself, and they probably realized that and recognized it and played off of that.
Well, it doesn't matter what your level of knowledge is, Dave will always have something to add to it.
So right.
It's not an indicator of anything negative.
But I think it was just because I wasn't sure of myself. And I don't know, when they ask, you know, like, oh, what would you recommend? I'd be like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you like. Like, tell me what you like. And then when they would tell me what they liked, I wouldn't be able to know, like, what was similar or what they would like based off of that, because I was always just like, Thor, just read Thor. So I don't know. People are really mean and assume like that you don't know anything just because you are a lady.
Yeah. I mean, we both have like our fair share of stories, and it definitely does happen. And it's one of those things where I had one guy once ask me if I actually read comics or if I just worked at the shop. And I was very, very upset. And then I had, you know, I just had to grit my teeth and just be like, I actually read comics. I read lots of comics, probably more than you do, sir. Like, get out.
Right.
But, you know, instead it's just like, here's your book that you're very interested in. And just like Heather has been passed up. We had somebody who was helping us out, like just bagging and boarding comics and just kind of taking boxes out. And, you know, a couple men came in and Heather was like, hey, do you need help? And they were like, oh, no, we don't. And then they went to this person who didn't know anything about comics, but just happened to be a man. And then they asked the question, and it wasn't.
And they had to be directed back to me, and I was like, let me help you. So yeah, stuff like that.
I thought you didn't need any help.
Bye-bye. Yeah, no, it's funny because Wendy actually mentioned that the other day, and she was like, I saw the look on your face, and you were so mad that I thought you were gonna blow up. And it's like, it's hard to not be angry at that type of situation when like you are there to help these people and they just don't trust your ability to help them. And I think, I mean, I can't speak for all of the other stores, but again, I do feel like Legend is unique in that way because Wendy is one of the owners, and Wendy is a very obvious female and like she knows so much about comics. So I think like a lot of our clientele that go there are aware that women who do work in comics do know things.
Yeah, and I would say like those occasions are fairly rare, but it does happen. And I would say on the phone it happens the most.
Yes.
Because I will answer the phone and somebody will be like, oh, can you put me onto the comic side? And it's just like, well, I can help you.
Or they'll just ask for Dave and ask him a question that like we are perfectly able to answer ourselves. But again, it's Dave. Dave knows everything. So
well, on the phone, they don't see how hip and cool you look, so they don't know.
Right. They don't see these tats.
Right.
I mean, they all think we're Wendy. We're all
we all get mistaken for each other.
A bunch of Wendy's working over there.
Yeah, it's only one person. Only one woman works in that shop, and her name is Wendy.
Yeah, it's just Wendy, no matter what.
Because I'll have like almost a full conversation with somebody on the phone sometimes, and like we'll be talking about comics. I'll be grabbing them stuff, and they're just like, Wendy? It's like, no, it's Champ.
Right, because there's no way that more than one woman could possibly work at a comic shop.
Yeah, so it is like, it's not often, but it does happen, and it is disappointing. It sucks. But it's also, I don't know, it's something I expected to happen, and I don't know, I've dealt with sexism all my life.
Yeah, I do feel like, unfortunately, it does come with the territory, but I guess the cool thing, or the good thing that comes out of it is they don't continue to think that way. Mm-hmm. Like once they realize that you do actually know what you're talking about and help, then they're open and they're willing to be like, oh, okay, cool, like awesome. But I think it's just that initial like reaction to, you know, oh, what? You work here? That's just, it's off-putting for me, and then probably just confusing for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least they do, like, it shouldn't be that way, right? They shouldn't have that initial reaction, but if they are going to have that, at least they can get past that bias at some point. It's unfortunate that there's that initial bias to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
But I mean, I'll say, like, I have shopped and been served by these two, yes, and watched their videos and everything like that, and totally on the up and up, right? You guys know your stuff, and it's always a pleasure to watch you and come in, and when I used to be able to say hi. I used to see Champ in the drive-thru every once in a while, but she avoids me now.
Well, I have to spend all day Wednesday posting photos of comic books.
Your from social media?
Yeah, and then I'm actually working on bringing back the newsletter as well right now. So.
Okay.
And I don't think I've ever seen you in the drive-thru, but you did almost hit me with your car a couple weeks ago.
I did, and that was your fault. That was your fault.
I was just like bolting across the street.
Yeah. You saw the gas station, you had snacks in your eyes, and you just galloped across the street. Oh, man.
I got myself a Snickers and a Red Bull. I had to do it. That was my breakfast.
Worth it. Worth the risk.
100%.
I mean, like, even if you did get hit, I just pour that Red Bull right down your throat. You pop right back up.
I would have just rolled the rest of the way to the gas station. Because the guy that's in there knows me, and he always has my total like ready for me, because I always get a Snickers and a Red Bull because I'm a mess.
The Heather breakfast special.
Yep.
Ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Well, I didn't have any more questions, but Champ had said that you might have had some questions for me.
I do have a question. So I was wondering how you got into like pressing comics and like fixing them up and stuff. Like, how did you get started doing that?
So I had some books that I had wanted to get sent off to be graded. It was shoot, I don't remember what it was, but there were a number of them, but there's one in particular that I'd taken them to a friend and asked to get his opinion on. I'm like, what do you think? Do you think it's worth having these be graded? Amazing Spider-Man 196. I think that's what it was. Is that it?
Of course it would be Spider-Man.
Is that the first Black Cat? Why am I?
We wouldn't know this information.
No, I'm not too into Spider-Man, and I don't feel like I needed to, because Dave knows everything. So if anyone does have a question about Spider-Man, I can just push it on to Dave. Yeah.
Spider-Man, right?
194.
Okay.
Maybe 194. So I showed it to him, and like, what do you think? You think it's worth sending in to be graded? And he's like, yeah. I mean, you'd want to get it pressed first, because there's these problems here. I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that. Definitely want to get it pressed. So I started looking into, well, how am I going to do that? There was no one in town that did it. You can send it off to the grading company and they'll press it, but it's like they're in Texas. If you want to press, their presser's in New York, so you have to pay to send it to New York, and then they'll press it, and it'll take like a bunch of time, and then you have to pay for them to send it to, like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
So like,
Unnecessary.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of sending a comic book around.
It's too much.
It's gonna
so
get
like,
bent all up in the
figure out
process.
how to do it. I'll just figure out how to do it on my own, because I have a pretty significant collection, and a lot of stuff over time I just eventually wanted to get graded anyway. So it just seemed to make sense just on my own, for myself. So I just did a lot of research online and reading articles and videos and stuff like that. I bought the tech that was needed. I dug through like quarter bins and dollar bins for like practice books and tried to find all the different things that could be wrong with a book in those cheap books. So I got like, oh, I can practice on this and for different ages and have like the different temperatures and stuff like that. So I just did a lot of practice on stuff until I felt comfortable with it. And then I started doing my own. I was like, you know what? There are probably people like me in this area. There's no one else that I know of that does it here locally. It's like, oh, I'll start a little business, without any intention of like making money on it. I do it because I love it, right? And it was so much better when I could actually meet people face to face, because the whole thing was like, so many other places like, hey, send me your books and yeah, I'll press it and send it back to you. I like to be able to sit with the customers and be like, hey, let's take a look at your book. Okay, I can work on this. I can't do anything about this, but I can make this better. And then get to know them, like what their sort of goals are. Like, are you doing this for an investment? Are you doing it just because you love the book? Maybe this isn't, I could do this, but it's not worth it because it's not going to increase the grade. So I'm not going to suggest I do something if it's not in your best interest.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't do that unless I get to know them. So it's a little bit different now. So what I'm having to do now, when I work with customers that aren't repeat customers and I kind of know what their needs are, I'll do something like this, like a video meeting or over the phone. Like, tell me a little bit about you and your books and what you're doing with them and whatnot, so I could give them the best set of services that I think is tailored for them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it came from I wanted to have stuff pressed. And I didn't want to deal with other people. So I'm like, yeah, just like anything, I'll figure it out. And
Yeah.
I figured it out.
So going off of that, what is your favorite book that you have been able to like press that someone else has given you to work on?
Is that all the New Mutants we've given you?
All the New Mutants.
I have done a number of New Mutant 98s for the store. Yes.
Yeah, we keep finding them.
They just like grab them out of like a garbage can, like, oh.
Man, that's tough, because it's not necessarily like how much I've been able to improve something for someone. It's just how much a book someone might care about a particular book, and me being able to give it back to them and make it better. Like, I recently gave a set of books back to someone. Some of them I sent off to get graded, some of them I didn't. And I gave it back to him, and he saw the grades on them. He's like, these are all better. They are at or better than what I expected. And none of them were very high. They were like 2s and 3s out of 10, just because they were just older, beat up books, but they meant a lot to him. Right. And he just wanted to see them better. There were things I would say like, this isn't going to improve the grade, but it'll make it look better. He's like, yeah, do it anyway. I just want it to look better because I love it. And being able to give those back to him, and he'd just be like, this is better than I could have imagined. Like, that just made me feel good. So I don't know if it's a particular book, but it's that sort of feeling when there's something that's meaningful to someone and I can make them even more excited or happier about it. And it's money aside, right? Like,
yeah,
like I don't do it for the money. I do it for that sort of connection and to make people more excited about their own books.
Well, you're really good at that because you do that for us with our podcast. So just making us feel good about what we do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you do great. I love catching it, and sometimes I'll admit, like, so I'm working from home now, right? So every once in a while, like, you'll pop up on Instagram at different times, right? And sometimes while I'm still working, and I'm like always on like a video chat with a coworker of mine. So sometimes you pop up, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go take a go away. Like, all right, TalkComicsToMe is on. All right.
We love that.
Yeah,
Thank you so
that's-
much.
Very
Yeah. No, I
appreciated.
really enjoy it. And what's really great is you read a lot of stuff that I don't. Like you lean a lot more indie. Like I like a lot of indie stuff, but not as I don't dip as much into it as you do. I'm definitely heavier on superhero stuff. So it's great to hear what is going on in there and like something I never would have picked up before, but like, oh, hey, they talked about it and they're super excited about it. Like maybe I should look into it. So that's super cool.
I know that was one of the things that Champ and I tried to do was, you know, we obviously get the books similar that we read, but we also tried to do like books that like I would read and then Champ wouldn't. That way we do have like different things to talk about. So we weren't just talking about, oh, we both read this book. So
Right.
And our like our tastes vary so very much as well. So we do there are some books where Heather's reading them and I have no want or need to read it.
If it's not like high fantasy or just straight banging, then Champ probably isn't gonna read it because that's the stuff that I really enjoy. And Thor.
Yeah. And I mean, we actually did move, I think myself personally, because I basically only had indie titles before we started doing the podcast. I did start moving more into like Marvel and DC books.
And I was more into Marvel than anything, and then started moving more into indie books, just because, you know, I hadn't really, before I started working there, aside from Regression, which that was a whole story on how I started it, which is the story. I saw a picture on Instagram of someone who posted a pink themed photo of just things in their room that were pink. And it was the first issue of Regression. And I was like, that art is great. That's how I originally went into Legend, was to pick up that issue. But that's also how I started reading more like indie books, just because I've just never been familiarized with them before, because the extent of my comic knowledge was just Thor. Just Thor.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like I had a question, but I don't know.
Okay, cool. Well, I thank you again. Thanks for the insight on comic shops in the most horrible of times.
Of course. Yeah.
2020,
If you want,
I'm going to call it the lost summer. Hopefully it's only a lost summer.
It's been almost a lost year by now.
Yeah, it's insane. I was actually thinking about doing a tiny video vlog of like a day in the life, but just making it as dramatic as possible, like while I was at the shop.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
Like a Tuesday.
Just like exaggerating like how crazy it is in there, and just like ghost town music, like just all sorts of just crazy stuff. But I toyed with that idea for a minute, like once this whole thing started and we closed the inside of the shop, because I was like, that would be funny if done the right way.
It could be. Yeah, you need to find like to borrow like a full like radioactive suit that you have to wear the entire time that you're in there. There's the beekeepers. What?
The bubble suits.
The bubble suit. Yeah. Bubble suit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, thank you. I appreciate your time. This was super fun, and yeah, we should do it again. Go over what we read and whatnot, but we can talk about what that is.
Yes, we're all friends on social media.
Yes,
we can do this.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. It was a blast.
I had a great time.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow TalkComicsToMe in all their various things, which will be linked below. Or
wherever you want to put it. I was just pointing everywhere because I wasn't sure where you had it. I was just trying to help.
Yeah, you got one of them. One of them's there. Yeah. Cool. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you having a good day?
Yeah, are you having a good day?
Let's talk about our days.
Yeah. How's it going?
Yeah, I actually so I did have a new customer I did some work for. So I'm off this week. Where I work is requires us to take 1 week off every month.
Sounds rough.
That sounds incredible.
Well, I mean, it's unpaid, so like
well.
Look, we were doing so good.
it's nice. It is. I don't mind it. It's nice to get the break every once in a while. So I able to like I clean up the basement and whatnot because my basement's a disaster. Like I set it up as like this huge gaming room. I have this big table that I got that I put down there just to have to play like D&D and board games and
Yeah,
stuff.
that sounds awesome.
It is. It's great. And there's a bar down there. It's awesome. And then a couple of years ago, my dad was like, "Hey, you know all this crap you left over at my place? It needs out of here." So it just got dumped on the table in the basement. So my basement has been unusable for the past couple of years. And I've just got to the point now where I think might have people over. But the world exploded, so.
Hey, I don't know, like, if you want to be COVID buddies.
Let's be COVID
Let's
buddies.
be COVID buddies.
Okay, we can be COVID buddies. There's this, have you heard of that?
I already have 5 people.
The pods.
The shop.
The pods?
Yeah, the pods.
Yeah.
The pods. I like that.
Yeah, I only have one person in my pod. I need to stretch my pod out.
I might be able to squeeze
probably
one
should
more
have
into
thought of that
mine.
before I said that.
Yeah, I should have thought about it before I responded.
I just was loving it, so I was like, "Yeah, keep going." Just
Yeah.
let it happen.
Where's this gonna go? Spread my pot out, reach deep inside it. Yeah, but anyway, we should do something. At the very least, we need to have a toast to our fallen Jimmy Olsen. Our
Yeah, we can
that
definitely
series,
choose that one.
That series being done is one of the saddest things.
I actually cried on issue 11 because I was so sad about it ending in a month.
Yeah.
Like I deal with depression so heavily that like this comic was one of the only things that was like making me like legitimately happy. Like real
good.
Happy.
I can't wait to order the trade, and I'm gonna finally read it.
Oh, you haven't read any of it?
No, I read the issue where
Jim's right there. She has
wearing
them.
the wig. No, I know. I like, especially for comics like that, I like to just read them all at once and like experience them.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, and the solace of like my room with like all my candles lit around the room. Like I got my cape on. Like I have a very specific way I read.
In the bubble bath.
Yeah. Just my glass of wine. Yeah, I have a very specific way that I read certain things, and like Jimmy Olsen is one of those things where I know I have to have everything just right because I know I'm going to enjoy it, but I just want to have the best experience possible. But yeah, the only issue I've read is the one where Superman's wearing the blonde wig.
Issue 2, I believe.
Yeah, and the only reason I read that one is because I loved that picture so much that I took it home. I have that picture like cut out and it's like on my wall at home.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just loved it so much. Because there was a bunch of comic damages and stuff that we were just gonna throw away, so I started like cutting them up and making like bookmarks and stuff.
Oh, sure.
With just pictures of comic pals.
How does that feel? How do you feel cutting up comic books?
I would have felt a lot worse had the covers not already been ripped off. It made it easier.
Sure.
Yeah. And just knowing that they were damaged, like some of them, the pages were just folded and torn anyway. So I felt better taking this damaged comic, cutting it up, and making something cool with it.
Sure.
And we did do a zine last year, a year and a half ago, where we did actually do collages. So.
And I actually, with that, have an entire book, by the way, that we can make into a zine of just collages, because when I was out of work for that 2 to 4 weeks, I was losing my mind. I made so many collages, it's insane. I had to buy an entire pack of magazine bags and boards to put them in there, and I used all of them.
Wow.
That's a lot of glue.
You just done your whole wall, just one big all around, just collage.
Yeah. And my husband won't let me hang them up because I have them all over the living room, and like with the exception of one of my roommates who is an artist who like I recommend stuff to him just based off of the art. With the exception of him, none of my other roommates, including my husband, read comics. So my husband was like, you need to stop hanging this stuff up around the house, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah. He's like, it's just too cool. We can't stand the amount of awesomeness around here.
Yeah. Well, and I started making them like tailored to them. Like they're violent, they're like bloody and gory and stuff. And I'm like, well, this is the kind of stuff you guys like. I'm just decorating the house.
Just being thoughtful.
Yeah. Doing this for you.
Stupid dudes.
Sorry, Patrick.
We, as you know, we like to just go on tangents sometimes.
No, that's what I miss. That's what I like. I would like to have on some of my content to have like so much comes out of like a dynamic, right? Of a bouncing things off of each other, which you get from yours, but you know, other than like when Wendigo pops up and I start talking about her for 5 seconds, there's no dynamic between anything.
Oh, I mean, I've done at least like a few like pick of the week videos because that was like an idea. I still have it. It's still there. But I cannot tell you how much harder it is to do like a video by myself, even if I only want it to be 5 minutes, because I just want somebody to like interject and say something. So I'm just like, I'm the only one here.
I tried
myself now.
I tried doing it and started crying. I just don't bloom the same when I'm by myself. It's very emotional. I couldn't do it. I deleted the videos and like almost broke my phone because I was like, why can't I do this? Like I do this every week with someone else. Why can't I sound normal when I'm just recording myself?
Yeah, same. I was also like oddly nervous because of my neighbor above me. I was like, so you were talking like this? Yeah, I was like, am I talking too loud? Is he gonna think I'm just screaming in my apartment by myself?
Yelling about comics?
Yeah,
yelling about... no one else here is gonna think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Just like, why is this woman yelling about comic books down there?
Just trying to get them all interested.
Because I think you would like it.
Just come down here and talk to me about them.
But yeah, it is like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I could have done this without Heather. Like 100% if I didn't have her here, this would just be a moot point.
Yeah.
Just be me like,
I think it would just end up being a blog, to be honest. Like I think you would get to the point where you're just like, no videos, I'm just gonna freaking type this all out. But Patrick, I was gonna say we should all like do this like once a month and like just talk about the comics together that we've been reading, and like,
yeah,
since you usually do a lot of back issues and stuff, like what you've been working on and stuff.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And going with Champ was like, I couldn't do it on my own or whatever. I'm sure you could have, but you two have a really good dynamic, and it probably helps that you hold each other accountable for are there times when like one of you is like, I don't want to do this dumb thing today, but the other's like, gotta do it. We have the thing you're expecting Wednesday, whatever.
There are definitely days when like one of us will be more into it than the other, but then once we start like recording and like get there talking about comics, it's so easy to just be like, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. This is fun.
Yeah, I think I dread doing this less than I dread doing like, even, no offense to my D&D crew if they ever listen to this. But like, you know, I played D&D on Sundays for like 3 years, and I like came to a point where it's like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And at no point do I really feel like that.
Oh, that's good.
Because I feel like I always, like, even if Heather and I do talk about things beforehand, which we kind of have to do anyway, like, it's always nice because we're just actually being able to, like, I think we spend like Tuesday night and Wednesday, like all like just like anticipating being able to talk about the books like we read.
Yeah, we get all of our tears out beforehand.
Right.
There are a lot of tears involved.
Yeah,
in this. we cry a lot.
I know we can't see below the table, but there's probably like an inch of water there, just like your socks are just wet with tears.
Every time I dip off the screen like this, I'm not drinking, I'm just crying.
We actually just keep like a little kiddie pool beneath like this part of the table.
I figured. Yeah, I suspected.
But yeah, like otherwise, I look forward to being able to have that conversation.
That's awesome. Well, it's good that you have someone, and that you obviously get along with so well, and that you work with as well. So like, I don't know. You obviously have a very good dynamic, and you can sort of get that
It
stuff
doesn't
ready
mean
to go.
sometimes
and-
we get tired of each other sometimes.
Oh, that's not true for me. I never get tired of you.
Trouble
Damn.
in paradise.
I mean, dang.
Well, everyone, this has been the last episode of Talk Comics to Me.
Let's be real. I'm an only child.
Thanks,
sometimes.
Patrick. Yeah, I have so many siblings. I was forced to like share a room with my 2 little sisters for like 6 years. So I'm used to there being another person with me all the time, and I'm used to having patience and not getting tired of that person. Had to do it.
I feel champ with this. I'm an only child too, so I get to like.
You guys are lucky.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm hanging out with a friend for a while, and I'm just like, I think it's time for you to go. It's like everything's fine. It's like my social meter is down. Like you just need to.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but
It's just like a giant social hourglass.
right, yeah.
I may as well have been like an only child in that sense, though, because I'm the quietest one in my family. My voice very rarely goes above this level when I'm talking. All my siblings just scream all the time when they talk, and I can't, like, their inside voice is my outside voice, and my outside voice is just barely higher than this. It's just insane. So I also have one of those social meters where I just, like, when I'm around people for too long and it's too loud and they talk too much, I have to just leave the room.
Yeah.
And I have my own room now, so I can just like get away from them.
Tight.
Yeah.
Look at you.
You know.
Moving on up.
Moving on up.
Ooh. I know we're gonna have dance time here.
We did the same move and
Yeah.
everything.
I know.
So with that being said, we
Yes.
need to
So speaking of social meters.